At least 1:30, so I'm going to call to order the Rockdale Planning and Zoning meeting of Tuesday, February 4th, 2024. Could I have a roll call, please?
Chair Williams.
Here.
Vice Chair Ratliff.
Here.
Commissioner Miles.
Here.
Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Barcheck.
Here.
Commissioner Slobod.
Here.
And Council Starnes.
Here.
We have a quorum, so let's start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together today to do the business of the city of Rockdale. Lord, thank you for this glorious day and for the blessings that you've given us. Lord, please be with us through this meeting and guide our thoughts and guide the discussion and guide the decisions that are made here today, that they are all pleasing to you and in favor of, in accordance with your will. Lord, we ask this all in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Do we have any electronic citizens communications?
No, sir.
Say again?
No, sir.
All right, assume a comfortable seating position. This is gonna take a while. The meeting that was held on the city council, or by the city council on January 13th was, almost entirely planning and zoning related in some form or fashion. They started off with citizens communications, and they had quite a few citizens, addressing concerns on the White Street project that's going on. And they had one for the rezone on the San Gabriel, but they were for it. I gave a report that I gave to you before I went to the city council meeting. I gave a report, and the city council and the mayor offered a gratitude and thanks from the city council. And I did have a question from them on the meeting time, wherein I referred to them that we were all volunteers and a lot of people had jobs, and the reason that every February we have a rollover of commissioners, and we always question if the time is acceptable, and that's how we set our time. It wasn't a random number, that's how we did it. So I explained it to them. Evidently, they're getting some grief on us meeting in the middle of the day. I don't know. But they didn't redirect me to do it, or direct me otherwise, so we're staying where we're at for right now. Then on the regular agenda, there was the actions on the 915 San Gabriel and the 900 block of San Gabriel. You know, that's the ones that are putting in for the USDA grant for the housing. And they had to go through the same two-step process that we did, and actually, they had more questions than what we did, and they approved it with notations. You remember what all they were concerned with, like us, on the number of parking spaces per unit and curbing, and they had some real questions that they were asking. And then reading on it,
Parking too.
yeah.
They did accept the first reading with conditions, and do you remember what the conditions are specifically?
Well, I mean, they accepted the first reading and they haven't specified the conditions yet. There's a question on parking, they're not comfortable with just the one, so they're deciding if they're gonna go 1.5, 1 1/4. They haven't made an official motion on that yet, so they'll be doing that at the second reading.
Then they also had a hearing and action on the 815 Houston change of zoning from A zoning to M1 zoning. If you remember what we talked about, and they had the same concerns that we did about if the landowner knew, and I informed them that we did tell the landowner that in order to meet that they were gonna have to put in a street. So, have you heard back from them on that?
I have, they're deciding if they're gonna put in a request to abandon a portion of right of way itself. Sounds like they wanna move forward.
Then they had a public hearing and action on the first reading of an ordinance regarding the potential zoning ordinance amendment regarding to accessory structures. And that took a little bit of time as they had questions about that. But it did get approved. I had approved in my notes. I don't remember if they made notes.
No.
I just had approved, right? And then they had a second reading of zoning of 620, 629, and 633 West Cameron. And that is with the property swap, and that got tabled. Did you want to tell them about the plating issue, or you?
Sure, so let me go to the mic. So if you can recall, the zone is a backup plan in case this land swap cannot go through. And so the council has tabled that. Tim and I have been working with the county, the title company, and our attorney to get this to go through. And the latest of it is we're moving forward. The county was not filing plats when they were received, which caused a potential couple-day delay. They've since fixed that issue. And so now a title commitment's been done. We've hired a surveyor to do the title survey required by TDHCA. And so that will be submitted hopefully by end of day today is what the surveyor was telling us. And then we will get word if we can move forward with this land swap or not.
Thank you. Then there was necessary action on a variance.
I have a question. When do you plan on getting word from the state? I mean, are they gonna sit and think about this for a couple of weeks before they give you word? Or are they gonna give you word the next day?
So we've submitted everything to them besides that survey. So they should already be reviewing it to give us that word. The survey is just the last document that they needed, and it was on hold because they needed to know what cabinet and slide number it was filed in when we did the plat. And so I would imagine they're already reviewing it, but we'll be on them every day until we get a response.
The 23rd is the deadline, is that correct?
The
That is-
22nd, I think.
The 23rd is a Sunday, so in reality it's the 21st, which is a Friday. And so, but we can't, I don't wanna wait until the 21st.
No, we need to, yes.
The fact that
Well, and
if it's, go ahead.
And I'll tell you, I'm working with the grant administrator. There's two homes we always do together. We don't usually just do one. And so we're scheduling the pre-construction meeting next week. So if we don't hear from the state next week, then Tim and I are going to have to sit down and decide if we're just going to have to do on camera. Because we're not going to let the deadline go by. He's going to get a house.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that's what he would want as well, because we don't know how much longer his structure has integrity-wise to stand there.
I agree with that statement.
So there's a pre-construction meeting next week,
It's going to be scheduled next week.
and it's the same house that's being proposed in both places. So if we don't, I would say if we don't hear by the end of next week, we will move on the Cameron Street project.
So we can have an answer from at council meeting, maybe?
The March meeting, yes.
Yeah.
Because we'll have to have an answer by
There's
then.
no further action required by council at this point.
Right. The council's already
So
authorized.
we know that we have to move forward, and so we're not gonna miss that deadline, so we're gonna give ourselves a cushion to be able to hit that. But I really am expecting to hear back from the state pretty quickly, because they're aware of our deadline as well. In the event the state, let's say they come back and do not approve the land swap, is there any further or additional documentation that needs to be filed on our behalf to the state to take it back to that property? No, because it's already with that property. And it's all approved 100% on that property?
Yes, there's several documents have to be signed, but nothing else has to be done. So the survey's already been done for the property. Everything's been submitted. There's papers that they get back, which is they always call them the final documents that the Cortez family would sign. They've signed them for Pine now. And so we've already submitted that. We're waiting on the survey. If they say no to that, then they'll come back and sign those same documents, but for Cameron. And then we'll submit them.
And we have those documents ready.
And we have them. It's in Shanna's office.
Is there a closing that has to be scheduled on the loan? For either location?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So we're
Because-
good to go. If, if we don't hear by, we're not gonna miss the deadline. I'll stand behind that, and we're not gonna, we only have, like I say,
I'm telling you. This still cannot fall through no matter what. I mean, if this falls through,
So clarification,
roll.
there'll be a house built either there or on Cameron?
Yeah, so the
So either
Cameron
way,
is.
it's gonna be a house built, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially what happened is Cameron got its approval and then it was asked for a land swap. And so we put that on halt. There's literally just the last document had to be signed and he's got a new house on Cameron. He's already received that approval. We're going through it again with Pine to get it done. And the deadlines that's discussed is if that deadline passes, he has to get more financial documents that he's still qualified, which he does not have the money for, which is why we're trying to get it done.
So originally, when we got approval for Cameron, the plan was actually to start construction the middle of January, like the 20th or something like that.
Okay.
But that got put on hold, and so basically we had another 30 days to figure out and make sure the land swap deal goes through. The problem is that originally when we submitted to the state for discussion about the land swap, there were three things we needed to have: a survey, an appraisal, and
The title.
the title, which we got all those three things and submitted. And then they asked for something else. I think they asked for a letter from the landowner saying that he was okay for it. We got that, submitted it. And then from the grant administrator, we need a letter from Ben saying that the proposed house fits on that lot on Pine Street, which we got that and submitted, and turned around very, very quickly. And then they came back and they said, well, we need to have a deed for the property that we're trading to him. And they were trying to get it closed, this land swap closed, and I had to say, no, we're not gonna swap the land with him and then take a chance that the state won't approve it, then he's really screwed because of the fact that then he doesn't own a piece of property that has an approved grant on it.
Right.
So we're not gonna swap the property until the state says, yes, it's okay to do the swap. And the state then confirmed that, yes, that's proper to do. You don't want to trade land until after. But they said, okay, if you want to go ahead and submit a deed that's unsigned, they'll review that in the interim, which we did. And then they asked for new title work and a new title survey or something like that?
Yeah, so essentially the legal description on the deeds didn't match, and that's the point of, that's when we found out the county wasn't filing the plats. And so it had an incorrect legal description.
This thing
And
has,
so-
this thing has a life of its own, y'all.
It-
If you're involved with it, it's just amazing. This,
But at this point right now, everything has been submitted to the state from our grant administrator for this land swap. And the only thing that's missing is this title
Survey.
survey.
which will be in today.
He said that they expect to have that in by the end of the day today.
and if I remember
Send it
correctly,
Immediately.
the demolition and removal, everything is included in that grant.
Yes,
So the
so
city-
that house will be
city's not
demolished.
gonna inherit that.
That's
They're-
right. It's just a question of where the house is gonna be built.
Right,
So on
And the deadline is this month, the 21st?
The 23rd.
yeah.
To have the state's approval to move forward.
Yeah.
If the state says, yes, we can move forward, then we're good to go, but there is still some things that we have to do, the paperwork we have to sign, the closing that we have to do on the actual land swap. And it's not like we're gonna start construction by the 23rd. We have
Right.
to get state approval by the 23rd. Then we know we're good to go on that end, but there are still a couple of things that have to, we're not gonna, and then the deadline is irrelevant, because we already have it.
If you go up to the Lucy Hill Patterson Pavilion, there's that property, there's an old metal storage building out there, and then they had just built one of those houses for
Yeah.
the Manti.
If you go out to Pine and you see the new home that was built by the home program, it's the lot just adjacent to that by skate park.
Right.
Help them with it where we're talking about. Any other questions about this?
Hey Scott, do they have somewhere to stay if they do have to demo that house? Just curious. I mean, I know it doesn't matter regardless of the project, but
They don't, as of now. We're looking into some things.
They've already made arrangements for a place to stay.
They did.
You know?
Yeah, I thought they were
I don't
staying
know
at that
that.
red
But
roof
typically,
place
that's their
across the
only
highway
cost
from.
in association with getting a brand new house.
Yeah.
is the temporary housing.
So in a perfect world, if all this gets approved, when would construction begin?
That, we'd have to set that at the pre-con date, but typically it's a couple weeks out after that meeting, so I'd imagine March is gonna be that time frame where they'll start construction on both properties.
Okay. And then how long does it usually take?
Anywhere between 4 to 6 months is their typical.
If we do get this swap approved, are we gonna demo this house immediately? I mean,
That's the first thing they do, and so usually when they get awarded that, it takes them about a week or so, because they'll go through the permitting process, and then they'll hire the contractor out there, and they'll put that on the schedule, because this contractor does the surrounding areas for the same TDHCA program, and they'll come into Rockdale and demo.
but I
Usually
mean,
it's about a
even if
week.
it's a land swap, they'll demo this house?
We clarified that multiple
Okay.
times. They're gonna demo that house. The question is just, where's the new house gonna be built?
Gotcha.
Because the fact that once the land swap goes through, he's gonna own Pine Street, a lot on Pine Street, and he'll no longer own the house in Camden.
I learned quite a few lessons from this. One of the big takeaways I have is be careful on property that's on the highway. They don't like you backing out your driveway onto a highway.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
So that's just one of the things that they were bogged down on for a while, so. Anyway, any other questions about this? All right, then take necessary action on a variance request submitted by Jose Cardenas for property at 214 East First Street. And that got approved. It was regarding a building setback.
Yes, so it was a plat that you saw at your last meeting. You approved the plat. There was a somewhere around a 2-foot setback that was needed for an existing structure on the property. Council approved that variance.
Take any necessary action on a final plat submitted by Donald and Carolyn Cooper, property 730 Broadnax, into Block 8, Lot 1, and Block 9, Lot 1, and that was approved, and that was the one that had the funny narrow street.
Yes, and I talked to the surveyor about that, and it's actually like that. It's bizarre. And so they've fixed their issues. The other comments that they had that were some legibility issues, they've corrected that, and so the plat's been filed. And now the Coopers are going for an address on that acre piece that they took, so that way they can sell it.
Consider taking any necessary action on variance request submitted by Jeffrey Zapata for property located at 701 Burleson for a building setback. They approved it, but it only applies to the existing structure.
That's right.
Consider taking any necessary action to city manager to get involved with the land swap. Let's not beat that horse anymore. Considering taking any necessary action on no, where are we at? Considering taking any necessary action on rewarding the contract for the Community Development Block Grant Program CDBG Downtown Revitalization Project for Milam Avenue, Bell Avenue, and Ackerman Street, and council held their ground and making sure we meet all the encore requests and we don't have any of the surprises that the last project brought us.
And that was to award the construction contract to
Also, yeah.
ESCO.
And that completes what concerned us at the last council meeting. Action items, review and approve the minutes of the meeting on January 7th, 2025, under your first tab.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
I second.
We have a motion and a second that we approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor, right hand. Motion made, seconded, and carries. Action 3, receive the monthly code enforcement report. Hello, Code Enforcement Officer.
Hello, Commission. And so if you notice on the numbers, there have not been any new cases in this month. Staff's had time to go out a couple times this month, and there haven't been any violations that required a notice. There was a couple phone calls given, and they resolved those issues. And so when you see your violations, I typically only track the letters that we send, because that's when their timeline will officially start for court. And so the reason that you're not seeing any numbers is high grass season is right around the corner, but not yet. And Stash for Trash recently happened. So we had a good turnout where the trash company came and picked up trash on the side of the road when they called in, and that cleaned up a lot of it.
I saw a lot of stuff being picked up. I don't know what the tonnage was, but it looked like it was well received and people participated. So.
Yeah, we had a couple that we called because we saw something on the side of the road and said, hey, we have Stash for Trash coming up. You may just want to sign up for that instead of hauling it off yourself. And then, if it's still there, we'll have to give you a notice. And they cleaned it up.
That's a big help.
Yeah.
Any questions for the code enforcement on his report? Officer on his report. Action item 4, receive the Development Services Department report.
So this is the first report for 2025. And so for the total number of permits we issued 7 building permits, 2 demolitions, 7 electrical, and 4 plumbing permits. In that, there were no new homes this month. However, there was a new commercial building, which is the AutoZone, that's being built, and that's proposed at about $180,000, a little under. And in that, there's an additional $49,800 invested in the smaller projects for other building permits. And then we had one development meeting about the structure on Dyer Street for rehabilitation this month. And with that, I'll field any questions you have about development.
They're meeting tree standards with leaving the trees that they have, and it's not going to interfere with the AutoZone.
So they can remove those trees, but there's a landscaping requirement that has to be met, yes. And so if they remove those trees, there's a replacement criteria, as well as you have to install this many based on how much square footage of the property that you're improving. And they've been given those numbers, and they will not get a CO until they do that.
Any other questions to the Development Services Department report? Number 5, consider and take any necessary action on reappointments or appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission for terms expiring February 2025. Those set to expire should be Doug Williams and Jason Orchak. And Jason, we know the scenario, so you can't come back and just. I really thought I was going to roll off y'all. I really did, but the way things are right now with the vacancies we have, I thought it was not a good move. So I will stay. And then we have an application for a commissioner. Is that correct?
So if we appoint one, we'll still be short one, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
If you know somebody,
I always try to recruit, but,
I know.
it's like pulling teeth.
Somebody from Perry and Perry?
Charles, Bush is on the east side of town. Get out there and shake them, man.
It's in the fine print in your job description.
There you
Yeah.
go. You're right.
I did, like I said, I went on KRXD and tried to get it out as best I could for the vacancies. But,
I like the gentleman sitting in the front row right here.
well, since you mentioned that, I think we have an application for him.
We do.
So we will have a total of 2 vacancies to fill, correct?
Correct. Well, we're gonna hold Jason on to the end of the meeting.
Right. Well, actually, he can stay on potentially until he's replaced.
Yeah, yeah. So we have the voting, I tell you what, let's interview our candidate. Would you go to the podium? Tell us who you are.
I'm Bud Houston. I'm here in Rockdale. I've been here about 20 years. I own Bud's Electric here in town. I've owned it for about 18 years.
Bud, it says you were vice president of the Chamber of Commerce till 2023. You're no longer active, or you're just not in that position?
I'm not active in it any longer.
Not active. And it says that you're building in standards of Rockdale. You're a board member?
Yes.
Will
There's
you
no
stay on that?
conflicts, there's no conflicts with that board in this, right?
I wouldn't think.
So, correct, yeah. 55 years in the electrical construction business, you say?
Yes, sir. Probably longer than that, but that's,
That's why I'm questioning what I'm
my
saying.
dad owned an electrical company. I've done it since I was young.
All right, I'll open the floor for y'all's questions to Mr. Houston.
Tell us why you're interested in being on this commission, Bud.
I'm sorry.
Tell us why you are interested in
Well-
being on this commission.
I'm interested in the future of Rockdale, and I'd like to be involved in help planning the future of it, and the building and the planning of it is the main reason.
And your time I know you're very busy. Will your time allow for the
Yes,
meetings?
yeah, it's a good part about working for yourself.
True.
So if you turn over to your matrix, you can sit down, Bud.
Yeah.
The rest of this is pretty much on your resume. It says, are you a property owner in Rockdale? Do you live in Rockdale? Are you a qualified owner? I think he's yes on all of those, so you give him a point on that. All right, length of residency, it's kind of misleading because he lives on Cherry Lane now, but how long have you lived on Cherry Lane?
A little over 2 years.
But you lived 2 miles out
Yeah, I lived on County Road 300
for 55. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been in the city limits probably about 3 years.
So he qualifies on all of that, so give some points there. Does the applicant have government experience, and so that qualifies under the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce, and by being a board member on that, so give some points for that. Do you have any other government experience?
The building
Do you,
standards.
do you come to well, let's see, wait a minute,
The building standards
yeah,
commission.
okay, I don't wanna get ahead of myself. So go ahead and give some, points on the government experience. Does the applicant have planning experience? Well, he said he is in electrical construction, but as far as,
Yeah, for planning, no. I would say no, I don't.
okay. Does the app,
Not sure what the building and standards committee
Yeah,
did.
building and standards.
Yeah. So that would have some planning and government, I would assume.
Yes, the Building Standards Commission deems what's a substandard structure, so they're very familiar with the building code.
Yeah.
all right. Has the applicant recently attended a city council or planning commission meeting?
City council meetings.
Okay.
Did you skip the development, or is that part of the planning and government you were just talking about, the building standards?
I should, 1, 2, 3, 4, should be 4 down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Applicant planning experience, and that was under his, as far as planning, he's under the building standards, and he's also had a business where he, then,
Development is after planning.
oh, the development,
It's under building standards.
who also fell under building standards. Yeah.
Cool.
And the applicant recently attended, and he said he has been to the city council meeting, so give a score on that. And what is, what is the applicant's community involvement? He's involved by being on the boards and that, and if you know Bud, he's involved.
Very.
And I forgot to tell y'all, these change from 0 to 10 to 0 to 20 at this point. So. Then what is the applicant's time and willingness to be involved? He said that he's retired, so he can be available. And the time doesn't involve this time of the day, doesn't affect your schedule. Are we taking these pages out of the,
You can leave it in the binder and I can get them.
okay,
At this point right now, I probably would ask for a motion as far as if they want to make a recommendation to council.
Well, I'll make the motion that we make a recommendation to city council that Bud Houston be appointed to the P and Z commission.
I'll second.
so we have a motion made and seconded that we approve and send to city council. All those in favor? Motion made, seconded, that we approve Bud, send it to city council. Okay. Hi, Ben.
Thank you, Bud.
Thank you. Wait a minute. You know what? I had this plan for, well, okay, I'll cover something here in a little bit. 6, consider and take any necessary action on recommendation to the city council regarding a final plat submitted by Ranch Road Development for property located in the 1100 block of North FM 487 Rockdale, Milam County, Texas, into 3 blocks and 67 lots. This is called a phasing.
Yes, so this is phase 1D, as in Delta, for Cornerstone subdivision. You've seen phase 1A, 1B, and 1C. What you're seeing be built out right now as far as home construction is phase 1A. But as far as infrastructure wise, they are getting ready to move forward with 1D. So 1A, 1B, and 1C have all been improved and accepted so far. There's only one comment on the review. It's consistent with the prior preliminary plat that was submitted. They, however, have put language on the code official signature block of saying inside the ETJ, and we just asked them to say that that's inside the city limits because the whole subdivision is within city limits.
Motion for that. I'll make a motion that we recommend, it be, in the city limits and not the ETGA. Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, just change that language.
Change the language?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Approved with notations, is that what you're saying, Charlie?
Yes.
And the notations being the ETJ that you said, and
Just the ETJ. They have,
Just the-
they've said it's within the ETJ and it's inside the city limits.
Shanna, did you get any of that?
I do now, yes.
Motion made with notations about the ETJ been made, and it's been seconded. All those in favor to approve, raise your right hand. Motion made, seconded, and passes. 7, consider and take any necessary action on a recommendation to the city council regarding a final plat submitted by Ranch Road Development for property located in the 1100 block of North FM 487 Rockdale, Milam County, Texas, into 2 blocks and 42 lots. This is your 5th tab, but yeah.
So this is for phase 1E. They've submitted both of them together. And there's 2 comments that we had on review. When reviewing the preliminary plat, if you look at lot 128, there is nothing on there that tells you that it's actually an open space park lot. And the preliminary plat designates it as such. So they need to add that language to this plat.
That's the highlighted, the blued out area?
Yes. It's within blue at the north corner of that. And then the same thing on the code official signature block. It's inside the city limits, so they just need to reflect that in their verbiage instead of saying within the ETJ.
I make a motion that we approve taking this to city council with the notations made regarding the, final plat, noting what lot 128 is open space, park lot, and also changing the language to, from ETJ to city limits.
I second.
Motion made to approve with notations has been made and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion made, seconded, and approves with notations. Action item 8, consider and take any necessary action on a recommendation to the city council regarding a conditional use permit request submitted by Christopher Strickland on behalf of JM Civil Engineering for property located at 715 West US Highway 79, Rockdale, Milam County, Texas, for gasoline sales. Now, this is a conditional permit. Talk to me.
So this is the existing Murphy gas station. And so what they're proposing is to do a rebuild to that, which would require a new certificate of occupancy. So this really is just a housekeeping item because by your zoning code, any gasoline sales are required to obtain a conditional use permit from recommendation from Planning Commission to City Council. And so that is why this is before you today.
So is this up to allow them to continue to sell gas while doing the remodel?
This is for the use after.
Oh, after, okay.
Yes. So to sell, if a new gasoline sales came to you, they would do the same thing. They would apply for this. They'd have to obtain this CUP to then open up their business and sell gasoline.
Whether it's new or, in this case, complete reconstruction.
This is a complete reconstruction?
This is a reconstruction, yes.
It's like the McDonald's where, if you remember, McDonald's came in and rebuilt basically in the same footprint.
Yes.
They're making some
I
changes
ask the
where the
engineering.
doors and things are at on it, but basically in the same spot is what I'm trying to say, yeah.
Walk-in store.
Well, I make a motion that we
Probably not.
recommend to city council that they approve this
I'll second,
additional request.
I'll second that.
A motion made to approve it. It's been seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion made, seconded, and carries. I have, Tim, I'm gonna surprise you a little bit. Come up here and present a plaque to Jason, sir.
My pleasure.
I know it. Where's the photo dude? Who's gonna take pictures?
Hannah.
This one.
Our
I thought she
photographer.
was gonna hold it till he find a replacement.
That may be a requirement. You get on P and Z until you find a replacement. It may be.
All of your duties in regard to this, except for finding your replacement, that's still out.
Bob Jones, get ready for the picture.
But just in recognition of your commitment as a public servant to the city of Rockdale, I want to thank you for that, your time served and presenting with this plaque, and wish you well, and let you know that you're always welcome back if you ever want to move back to town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be moving back to town, but I appreciate it. I've really enjoyed, serving the citizens of Rockdale, you know, on city council and the, planning and zoning.
I know-
School board, I don't plan on getting off that anytime soon, but.
Good,
That's
good for
good.
you. Yeah, y'all take it lightly, I guess, because of who I am, but it hurts. The three of y'all hurts. We were a pretty cohesive team, and I thought we were really starting to move forward, and now we're back to the starting line, especially on training. The Bud's gonna have to get some training. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll reach out.
Sir, you were here. Did you have a comment?
I did not. I was here for the Murphy USA, so I was gonna answer any questions. if there
Okay.
were.
Step to the podium.
Yes,
Who are you? Why are you here?
my name's Alan Perez. I'm with JM Civil Engineering, representing the Murphy USA demo and rebuild. Staff did a great job presenting it. I don't really have anything to add other than essentially it's just bringing the gas station up to market competitiveness. I think it's been there for close to 20 years. You get to the point where you need to change out your tank and piping system to maintain federal regulations. That is a huge undertaking, so they just decide at that point that they'll just do a whole new building, new canopy. The function will be slightly different than what you're seeing now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the current operations, but pretty much everything is done through a pass-through window. This new 1,400 square foot building will allow all that stuff that you see outside is going to be inside the building. So customers can go into the building and make fuel transactions and buy sodas and things like that.
So convenience store.
It's a convenience store. It's certainly not the size of a 7-Eleven or something like that.
Not Buc-ee's?
No.
Oh, man.
We could try to squeeze one in, but no, it's a 1,400 square foot. It'll have a beer cooler, a refrigerated cooler. It'll have a couple of shelves and a cashier's desk.
Still 12 pumps?
This will be an 8 dispenser with 16 fueling positions. So I
8
think the
dispenser.
existing one is a 12. It's a 6. It's a 6 dispenser. So there will be 2 more dispensers.
Timeline?
I don't think this is 2025, simply because Walmart doesn't allow you to do construction during holiday season. So either Murphy's got to get it all done before November or just wait till 2026. So, I think with permitting and everything that we need to do, I don't know that they could get everything wrapped up by November. So I think right now they're kind of penciling it in for 2026. But if everything goes quick, maybe it could be 2025. That's to be determined.
What do you need from us?
A building permit? No, we'll go through all the proper channels, once we get the CUP in. I think it's basically a one-stop shop from what Mr. Blanchard's been indicating. So we'll get building, civil, tank and piping, we'll get all of that in pretty soon. If it goes quick and we see that we can get contractors on board and everybody hired up appropriately and be finished before November, it could be this year.
I'm sorry, I didn't study it real hard. Is there gonna be just the same 2 entrances as it is now, or is there possibility of opening up one closer to the highway, or?
No, they're not gonna they're gonna maintain the exact same traffic pattern. The traffic pattern interfacing with the Walmart driveways and parking lot will remain the same. Stormwater flow, everything's gonna remain the same. So it's essentially the same use, just newer at the same location.
It's gonna spread out a little further out.
The back of curb gets pushed out in a couple of places, a couple of feet, but essentially your concrete impervious cover increases slightly, but a pretty small amount. Yep. Yeah, I mean, Murphy's had a great, they want to stay in the market. It's been very successful for them, and they identified this as one that, they're willing to spend all this money to turn it around to bring it up to code, so.
We appreciate that.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
With that being said, I see that one of the clocks tells me it's 2:15. I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting of the Rockdale Planning and Zoning Commission.